Here we are on beautiful Jones Street.
You saw Ted Jones.
What's up, guys? Ted Jones of the Ted Jones World Podcast here in my living room / studio. It's episode freaking, I think 464, but if I'm wrong, you'll see that it's 465 right there. So right now it's 2:30 in the afternoon, and usually 2:30 you should be at the dentist's office. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll talk about going to the dentist after I just talk about doing this. So for those of you who don't know, I edit all of my own stuff. And now that I've been doing Ted Jones World stuff full time for the most part for 3.5 years, I have been editing. I've edited probably 95% of the stuff that I've ever put up for like 6 months to 9 months. I had my buddy Omar, who's a fellow comedian, help me with clips. He was editing some stuff. Shuey, back in the day, if you guys remember, Shuey was editing like 1 or 2 things here or there. But for the past, I'd say 18 months, no joke, every single thing that I've put out, I've edited. And editing takes a long time. As if you guys are in the creative space or you've ever edited something before, you'll know that it takes forever. So some of the clips that I put out, especially that have multiple characters in it, those things take hours to freaking edit. And then also this podcast I edit by myself. But yeah, I'm just here complaining because I wanted to let you guys know that I'm really working hard out here, okay? But 2:30, I went to the dentist the other day, and I figured like people call it tooth hurdy. You know what I'm saying? But I was at the dentist's office the other day, and I realized that if you people have not been to the dentist in over 6 months, maybe you can wait 9 months or a year, but anytime past that, I feel like anytime you go to the dentist, you just need to take a freaking shot to the arm and pass out. Because the dentist is terrifying, okay? And even after me, I went to the dentist
Guys,
for the first time.
Guys, we have the Ted Jones Comedy Show tonight, January 10th, Monday.
Sorry, that was funny. I have these preset buttons that sometimes... by the way, I sounded like I had a cold there. I have these preset buttons on the sound machine that just like... says random things. Anyway, but the dentist office is freaking nuts. It's a nightmare. I wouldn't say that the dentist is a scam because every time I go there, they obviously clean my teeth, and the bar on the bottom of my mouth, let me see if I can show you. I have a bar where it's like a retainer. I wear a night guard at night, but then I have a permanent retainer that's been in there for like 15 years. I don't know how it's been in there so long. Jinx. I don't want to jinx it. That I don't want it to fall out, but it always feels more clean when I go in there, but it's like $300 a visit. Maybe you know what? I understand it. I shouldn't talk shit so much about the dentist because apparently anything that like, if you have gum disease, it can like go to your brain, which does make sense. I was thinking initially like, maybe that could be a scam. Stuff in your gums is going to go to your brain. But if you think about it logically, I think maybe that makes sense. Had some ups and downs in the past week. You could tell that I haven't shaved. I wonder if that boosts your mood or something. Obviously, like taking a shower and getting clean boosts your mood. But if you think about anybody who you respected or anybody that you knew of like 100 years ago, they didn't have hot water. And now I'm taking hot water showers for a number of months. I was just taking strictly cold water showers. But it's like, how much comfort are you allowed to take in life to where it becomes too comforting? You know, maybe that's like a weird way to say it, but people 75, people 100 years ago were not living as good as we're living now. And I don't want to say that the boomer generation really had it great, but if you think about it, I don't know, like 50 years ago seemed like the time to be alive, right? No cell phones. People were making a lot of money. Interest rates were freaking low. People were buying things at a price that is a lot cheaper than now, but I'm super blessed to be even in... I'm Obviously, I feel blessed to be alive in 2024 because there's so much cool stuff that's going on. We're seeing so much new stuff coming out. I know that's vague in saying that, but like, I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see how AI takes over the world. Like the things that we have left are that humans really are contributing to as of right now are live performances, you know, like Broadway, movies, live comedy, and sports. Like sports in the future, nobody's going to want to watch robots play sports, right? Like people want to watch athletes. People want to see people do what they got to do. Even watching the US Open finals, I don't have a new appreciation, but there were so many people. There were handfuls of people that have spoken to me, reached out to me saying that they went to the US Open for the first time and they were watching the US Open on TV for the first time. And that's such a beautiful thing. If you guys really do watch tennis, you'll see these guys just bashing against each other. They're just like fighting each other with their rackets. Like if you're watching on YouTube right now, or you're watching on Spotify, Amazon Music, whatever, you'll see I got a stick in my hand right here, a tennis racket in my hand. People like tennis players are just fighting with their rackets, man. Such a great sport. I'm so happy that I grew up playing tennis. It's great, and I'll have it for a lifetime. I'd obviously love to play tennis more. People ask me, Ted, how often do you play tennis during the year? And I wouldn't say it's sad, but it's just difficult to get out and play tennis, especially being in New York City. You know what I mean? You can't be in New York City playing tennis a few times a week unless you're playing in a clinic and shelling out that money, because it takes a lot to get to the courts. It depends where you live. If you live next to tennis courts, that's obviously a lot easier. But in Florida, in warmer climates, there are tennis courts every few blocks that people play tennis on. Now, are they going to turn into pickleball courts? I don't know. A lot more people are getting into pickleball, but I still hope that people love the idea of tennis, man. And okay, I'll go back to editing. Like I was saying, I know I went off on like a random tangent there, but there's something to be said about having creativity in the way that you specifically like it, right? Like artists and painters, they edit all of their own stuff, right? They don't have editors, but we're in a new time where videos and more movies and things are being customly designed to the creator's liking, right? Like back 50 years ago in the boomer generation, there would be actors. Then separately, there would be directors. Then separately, there would be producers. Then it's only been recently where people are acting, producing, and directing the same thing, right? Or that's all personal. And it really is a personal touch. Like in the future, I look forward to having a person or people on the Ted Jones World Squad that know ideally what I'm looking for in a project or a clip or something like that. Because now I just feel like anything that I look at, I'll specify and I'll be like, oh, I would like it to be this particular way, or I want this angle to go like this. There's so many unique things, and especially on the algorithms of the TikToks, the Instagrams, not so much the YouTube, because YouTube is more long form, but on the shorter platform content, there's so much that goes into half of seconds, a quarter of a second. You can lose like 50% of viewers if you cut something a second too long, or you cut something a second in a way that doesn't bring in the audience or viewer. If you add 5 extra words, you're going to lose 80% of your audience. So we're at a time now where it's the baby stages. I know if you guys have listened to a podcast before, you know I talk about the baby stages of all this social media and the way that people look at creators, the way that people look at artists. It's changing. Like every 3 months, it feels like there's a new way to do something. As of 2020, a lot of comedians, a lot of artists have become huge because of putting their work on social media platforms. Since 5 years ago, when we started this podcast, it's like 5 years and 5 years and like 2 weeks since we started the podcast. There have been so many things that have changed on the social media platforms. You need to get to the point quick. You can't have people just straggling along. And the truth of the matter is, which is like another creator / comedian told me this. He was like, dude, nobody really cares about you. And I know he wasn't specifically talking about me, but if you look back on some of the content that I put out, it was like vlog style. And I never really gave a person a chance or a reason to fully care about what I was doing, because the way that I was editing things was just like, meh, as people would say. There's too much space in between action. There's not enough action. The way you start a video, that's when you're really gonna get the people watching or listening. And I feel like I've known this and learned this just based on how I've seen how I latch onto videos, right? It's not like you start off with the credits in the beginning of the movie. It's not like, I know I keep referring back to 50 years ago where you can start off with 5 minutes of credits in the movie and everybody's sitting in the movie theater. Everybody already paid their $20, their popcorn, their slushy, they're $50 in. If they're in a date too, if they're on a date as well, then people are already locked in. Now with all this free content shooting at you, it's just like, oh, well, if I don't like this clip within the first half a second, I'll go to the next clip. If I don't like that one, I'll go to the next one. I'll go to the next one until their first half second of a clip links me in, right? Steve has been addicted to eating sofas for 10 years. Okay, what is this clip about? Boom, cuts to Steve. He's eating sofas, his strange addiction, stuff like that. So, a lot is changing, and like AI is obviously learning our brain a lot more. Are we living in a simulation? Who knows? Maybe, but like if you guys have weird dreams at night and you can tell that you're in the dream, what does that say? Like sometimes I've had scary dreams where like I know I'm in the dream and I'm like, oh, I gotta wake up. Or you'll have scary dreams and you don't know you're in the dream. So it's like, what is all of this even? And is AI just like another form of humans? And then people will talk about, well, if you look at how long it's taken PS3, the PlayStation 3, to go to the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and the graphics, it's wild, man. I don't know, but that was just another tangent. See, like me too. Like I'm going off on tangents and I don't even know what I'm going to speak about next. Right? But that's the beauty of life. You never know what's coming next. But apparently life, as Tony Robbins would say, happens for you, not to you. As I take off my glasses here, I wonder if I would ever get LASIK surgery. That's a small another tangent. Have you guys ever gotten LASIK surgery before? I know my dad, who might be listening right now. What's up, Pops? Got LASIK surgery like 25 years ago when it was kind of in a place where it was like, not a lot of people were getting LASIK surgery. But would I get it? Yeah, I get it. I don't mind contact so much, but it is kind of an annoying thing that I have to deal with every night and every morning. You know what I mean? If you guys have contacts. And well, my prescription is -3, which maybe isn't so bad, but it's definitely noticeable. And as I took my glasses off, I can't really see anything. I can see you guys a little bit down the tube here, but not really. Like everything for the most part is blurry. And I wonder how people hundreds of years ago dealt with their bad vision, right? You can kind of deal with having bad hearing, or maybe like wolves and coyotes would sneak up on you a little bit more, but I would imagine that your vision would need to get sharper, right? As well as your hearing. You'd have to adapt to living out in the wilderness, you know? But people were definitely sleeping a lot more, you know? You'd find a warm cave, you'd crawl into that cave. It'd hopefully be not freezing. You'd sleep for 10 hours because it was super dark in there. Now people are sleeping for like 7 hours. Or people will even brag like, yeah, I sleep more. I sleep like 5.5 hours a night. Like, bruh, that ain't right. That can't be good for you. Sleeping 5.5 hours a night. Like I'm an 8.5, 9.5 hour guy. A lot of people, especially if you're working a corporate job, you're out of the house by 8:30 and you need to be at the office by 9, especially being in the city. I know it's usually like a 30-minute commute, or if you're in the suburbs, then it takes a little bit longer, obviously. But I think having some time in the morning to yourself is always important. There was a period of time, like even during this podcast, when I was waking up at like 4:40 in the morning, 6 or 7 days a week, no joke. I'd be working out every single day. I'd work out 2 weeks in a row. I'd be outside running by the time it was like 5:30 or 5:45 in the morning. And that was a nice thing too. But I have been valuing sleep a lot more, especially since I now don't really get home before midnight any single night. I'll be out at the clubs, you know, at comedy clubs, and usually spots go till at least 11:30, so I'm not home until midnight. And then I'm also eating super late, which apparently isn't really good for your sleeping schedule, but I don't know, I just get super hungry, and especially I don't eat right before I go on stage. So after I get off stage, I'm hungry, you know, have that falafel, some rice, stuff like that, some vegan stuff. People ask, Ted, being a vegan, what do you eat? And I don't even know what to say when people ask me that, which is a little bit embarrassing, but hey, I'm not a foodie. I'll say that. I'll eat the most basic things. Like I'll eat nuts, rice, avocado, falafel. Those are like the most, those are probably my go-to foods that I'll eat. I don't really care to eat. Like people ask me, what's your favorite vegan restaurant? I have no idea what my favorite vegan restaurant is. If it's vegan, I'll eat it. People ask, do you eat replacement meats? Yes. If it's there, if it's in front of me, I'll eat it. Whatever. But I think also being a vegan, it's a lot easier not to be a foodie, you know? Because like when you eat animal products, you eat the cheese, you have the milk, you have so many options of things that you could eat. You're like, oh, I want to try this particular restaurant's filet mignon, or oh, that place has really good duck, or oh man, that place has got really good goose. It's just I really don't really care. And the only time that I will be like, oh, I wish I maybe wasn't a vegan is if I'm at a birthday party and there looks like there's a good funfetti cake, something like this. Then I'll be like, oh, I wish I could have a slice of that funfetti cake. But maybe in that situation, the egg will be replaced by applesauce. By the way, okay, this is kind of like a controversial topic. This is a question I'm asking you. Does all pasta have egg in it? I know that there are chickpea pastas, like brands like Bonza, they have chickpea pasta, but do you believe as a person that all eggs have pasta in it? Now, being a vegan, I always will look at the ingredients, and if something says may include, I typically will eat it. So if something says may include egg, maybe that's being a bad vegan, but if something says may include, or in a factory that processes eggs and milk or something, I will eat that particular product. As long as there's not definitely an animal product in it, I will eat it. And I think that goes different without saying. There are people who are very strict. There are people who won't eat on the same plate as something that will have meat on it, even after it's been scrubbed down. That's more of like a kosher thing, maybe. But I think that there are definitely levels of being vegan. I know that some people still eat eggs and consider themselves vegan. I wouldn't consider that. But I was eating pasta at this place where I do comedy the other night, and all the comics were like, there's egg in it, there's egg in it. I look in the ingredients on the box, and it says, may include eggs. Excuse me. No, not excuse me. May include eggs. What am I supposed to do with that? Am I supposed to never eat pasta again, or only eat chickpea pasta? Maybe that's a choice that I gotta decide, man. Because I can't be eating pasta if it's got eggs in it, or if somebody's mixing eggs with it, you know? And I haven't really even fully, I've been vegan for almost 5 years for the most part, and I haven't really fully thought about it until within like the last month, that the pasta that I've been eating at restaurants, pasta with red sauce, does that have egg in it, man? What have I been doing? God damn it. Yeah, but that's that's something that crossed my mind, man. We'll get into that next topic, but it's been about 7 months since I smoked pot, and I don't think even looking back a year, I don't think I could ever see a world where I would never smoke weed. And I think I've gotten to the point now where it's like, and I'm not really tempted by it, and I don't really have the craving to smoke. Like back, I'd say 2, maybe even 3 months ago, there were nights where I was like, I could smoke right now. But I don't know if it was a problem. Like I could always stop at a certain point, and I've told you guys before that I would stop 3 hours before the podcast. I'd stop 3 hours before I went on stage. But it just felt like there were so many times where I was like, oh, I don't want to smoke weed because of this, or I don't want to smoke, yes, because of this. But now it just feels like I'm less limited to doing things. You know, I won't eat typically an hour, 2 hours before I do stand-up, but I can feel the difference. Like today, I haven't eaten, and maybe if you guys have noticed, I've just been boom, boom. I've been rattling off ideas pretty consistently. And I don't know if that's because of things that are on my mind and I just have a lot to say, or it's because I haven't eaten. But in the past, I have felt that when I haven't eaten, I will be able to convey ideas more clearly. And I don't know if that's something that you guys have tried, but I've said this, before, but I have seen comedians eat seconds before they've gone on stage. I'm sure they do fine. Or people will say, oh, I can't do specific things if I haven't eaten. And that goes without saying that my mind, like I'll get aggravated if I haven't eaten at a specific time. But if I eat too much, then I get aggravated. I do feel like this is a weird thing to say, but I've heard it before, that food is a drug, especially if you are eating foods that aren't good for you, foods that have a lot of additives in it. And being in the United States of America, I don't know where you guys are listening to this from, but there are a lot of foods that have things that are banned in other countries, which is a crazy thing. Like McDonald's has different ingredients in foods in other countries than they do in America. And is that because America is a capitalist society? We want to sell more food and make it taste as good as possible, potentially. But that's also something that's like, what? How does that make any sense? If there's an FDA, shouldn't they tell us that this stuff will make you feel like shit? And it goes without saying that if you have more ingredients in your food, your body's going to be like, yo, whoa, what's going on? Because if you go back to those caveman days, we were just plucking bananas off the tree. We'd have like 4 bananas. Maybe we'd find an avocado, have some blueberries, and we'd be solid. You know, there'd be days when we didn't eat for a long period of time. There were weeks sometimes where we would just have like 1 meal a day, right? I've talked about fasting a lot on this podcast previously. It's been a long time. I'd say probably like, maybe not a long time, maybe like 2 to 3 months since I've done like a full 24-hour fast. And when I wake up in the morning from 36 hours of fasting, I do feel a lot more clear, but my energy levels towards the end of the night definitely dip. It feels more difficult to fall asleep if you haven't eaten a meal at that particular time than if you were to eat a meal. But yeah, I mean, my eating schedule is normal for the most part. I still eat bagels all the time. Not all the time, like a few days a week. And if I eat a bagel right at like as soon as I wake up, I just won't feel well. If I eat a bagel at 1 or 2 p.m., I'll feel fine. I'll feel great. I'll feel energized. And I think it's my body being like, you just ate last night at 12 a.m. You could wait until 2 p.m. the next day. You could wait 14 hours to eat, right? It's that eating window. I don't know what you use guys' eating window is, but I imagine, or I hope it's not, every 8 hours. You can't be eating every 8 hours. Otherwise, you're going to not feel so good. And it can't be so good for your health. Your body's already digesting what it has, A ton of topics today, guys. And as we're moving through this year, the year's actually, was the year going to be? Yeah, the year's over in like 3.5 months. I do have goals in stand-up and then on the social media front. We're trying to grow as much as possible. If you guys have never seen me do stand-up comedy, come see me do stand-up comedy. I perform stand-up comedy almost every single night in New York City. September 20th, I will be in St. Pete, opening for my buddy Giulio Gallerati. So if you live in St. Pete, Florida, hit me up, Ted at tedjonesworld.com or Ted Jones World on Instagram. Just send me a message and I'll let you guys know that info. But I do perform in New York City almost every single night. I'm doing like 10 to 12 shows per week, and I'm seeing things progress. I do feel more comfortable on stage. Even if I don't know exactly what I'm going to say at a particular time, I do feel like I'm commanding the room better, and it's been a long time coming. Each time I go on stage, I feel like it's a good rep, and I do feel like, since sometimes you're not getting paid as much money as you should for certain things, that it's all adding up. Guys, I'm Ted Jones. Thanks so much for listening to me talk, ramble, and hit me up. Yeah, Ted Jones World. We'll talk. Goodbye.